Welcome to the Amplify to Seven Figures podcast, where we look inside the mind of seven-figure entrepreneurs to see how they amplify their business and amplify their life. Let's welcome today's guest. Today's guest is an entrepreneur, speaker, and multimedia producer. She has dedicated her independent career to empowering other small business people by sharing an education-based model of marketing and sales. She is the co-founder and COO of WebinarNinja, an independent SaaS company, and the producer of the $100 MBA Show, a best of iTunes small business podcast. She co-founded both of these with her partner in business and life, Omar Zenhom. Both were former educators who saw how entrepreneurs could modify teaching strategies for marketing objectives. Through bite-sized podcast lessons and live webinar workshops, Nicole and Omar show budding small business people how to monetize their unique expertise and experience. Please give a very warm welcome to the show, Nicole Baldinu. Please give a very warm welcome to the show, Nicole Baldinu. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks, Paul. I'm doing really well.
Fantastic. So Nicole is reaching us all the way from Australia, so we're on the other side of the world and probably got better Wi-Fi connection than with my wife downstairs. So that's a pretty good start to the day. I wanted to dive straight in today, Nicole, because one of the things that I noticed going through your site and seeing how your team has grown, right? And by the way, if anyone has not gone to WebinarNinja, you need to go and check out their team profiles because they've got the coolest cartoon caricatures ever that I've seen from a team profile. So that's awesome. And I noticed you've got like 25 people on there right now. Maybe it's gone up even more. But how do you ingrain culture with a remote team? You know, you've got like a big team. So how do you put that together?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah. And I think, in the beginning, it was like we're just figuring it out, as you start hiring your first person, you don't have like this grand plan, you don't think about culture and you don't think about, okay, I'm going to methodically put together this team all around the world and I'm going to, instill this particular culture. I think the way we've built a culture is by really emphasizing communication and by being online and talking to our team every single day. Mm-hmm. We do have meetings, and even that process is refined from maybe meeting a little bit more often to realizing, okay, we can rely on a lot more asynchronous communication, but we still do make a place for meeting face to face, on calls like this. So I only say that, and that might seem like, oh yeah, of course you communicate, you see your team, that's normal. But I've over the years I've seen so many awesome remote teams who don't actually even see their employees, and they're totally fine and they're successful and they've done amazingly. And that's just something that Omar and I have intentionally gone, you know what, we do want to have a presence. We do want to talk to each other. We want to, we enjoy the people that we work with. So communicating every day with our tools is something that we just make a priority.
So talk to me about that. Is that like a 15-minute huddle? So we call ours a daily huddle. Some people call it Scrum and things like that. But
yeah.
So are you looking at like, is it 15 minutes huddle everyone on the team, or do you do it like with the team leaders and things?
Yeah. So originally, we used to do, for example, with the engineering team, there were these daily stand-ups, and we realized, we don't have to do daily stand-ups. So with most departments, with most of our teams, it's at least a once a week meeting. So I'll meet with customer support, we'll meet with product, we'll meet, with our CTO. Those are once a week. And then we have an all hands once a month where we bring the whole team together. And, that's a challenge because of the time zones. It was often Omar and I, at 12 a.m., 1 a.m. and, just so that it could be, a decent time for everyone else. And then we went to a rotation system where it's like, okay, everybody gets to do the 12 a.m., the 4 p.m., the 7 a.m. We've kind of worked it out now. We've found a happy medium, but there's definitely that once a month call, and we've reduced it to once a week for most department kind of meetings.
Sure. That yeah, it's interesting. Like, and then when you say like when you started out, you didn't have culture or values, or you just kind of like you say, just go, well, let's see how it goes. People are asking for this thing, so we'll go and build it and see what happens. Do you find that? Because I got a feel that there was a really good culture about, even like from looking through your site, right, and going from the about page, and it's like, hey, these are our values, this is what we believe in, a teach first model rather than a let's just go and hype the crap out of something and go and sell it. So talk to me a little bit about that. Why is that philosophy important to the business?
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but both Omar and I were teachers
Yeah.
before we became entrepreneurs. He'd been in business for a lot longer when we got together, and he'd been side hustling, building businesses on the side for years before we started building our businesses together. But I was a teacher. I left teaching after a decade and went to study film. I went to New York. I studied film for a while and got into that. I was doing freelance videography, and then Omar approached me, and with the $100 MBA as the first business that we built together. And so I think, if I'm going to speak for myself, I never went to business school. I never, learned marketing the traditional way or the new way or whatever, whatever way. I knew how to teach. And a lot of that has been kind of the foundation of the podcast, the $100 MBA Show, and a lot of what we do at WebinarNinja, just because it feels comfortable. It feels like it's what we know. It's what people come to us for. I feel it's a differentiator but for us, compared to our competition. We do a lot of teaching, whether it's our member webinars, our Q&A webinars, a lot of the content. It's just what we do. And I think it's because, we were teachers first before we were entrepreneurs.
And that kind of brings on to the next point about like, how do you feel webinars are changing, right? Do you think this, because obviously that with things like ClickFunnels and things like that, like it's built this mass movement of like, hey, you do this script, follow this script, and everyone teaches their 3 secrets, which are not actually a secret. And then you get to the end of it, and then they do this big value stack pitch, and then, hey, you're going to go and make a load of money. Do you think that kind of model is changing? Do you think this teach first model is something that's going to move forward and become more prominent?
I think so. I think, I spend a fair bit of time talking to customers, and because I'm not the face, of the product, you'll see Omar doing a lot of the webinars and the demos and all of that. So I spend a lot of time kind of, in the chat, listening to what customers are saying, interviewing our users. And there is this sense of, you hear it, the cookie cutter webinar. People are kind of getting weary of that. There is a fatigue that's out there because of a certain model that was proposed and probably overdone. And what I find now when I'm talking to my users, and what we're seeing really works, is that teach first, is people just coming to the webinar and saying, this is what I've got. This is the value I have to deliver. This is what I can teach you. This is what I can show you. And people are showing up to learn things, right? They want to be shown something. So if the premise is really teach first, I think it already kind of disarms the listener or the audience to just go, okay, I'm here, like I'm a student. I'm not being sold to. And that feeling of being sold to, I think that's where, people are a little bit more cynical about, I suppose.
And I suppose as well that depends on the space that you're in, right? So like if you're in the make money online space and you're doing webinars, everyone's doing the same thing and doing that same process. But let's say, I don't know, you were teaching people how to set up their own beauty salon or something like that. Now, there's not going to be many people doing the perfect webinar model in that space. So it's very they say that marketers ruin everything.
Yeah.
So I think, like you say, it's just whatever comes along is like, just do it while it's new and fresh and be ahead of the curve, and something stand the test of time, like teaching first.
Yeah, one of the oldest professions. Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of people spend a ton of time investing in building something, and then they go and launch it, and then it doesn't work. So how do you actually validate that a business idea is going to work out?
In our case, we pre-sold when we had the idea for Webinar Ninja. It was Omar's kind of brainchild. He was running webinars with $100 MBA, and so when we started realizing that people were interested in the setup that he had for the $100 MBA for his webinars, and they said, "Oh, can we buy this?" It was then that we had the idea, oh, okay, so people are interested in this solution. Let's put some mock-ups together and let's see if there's any interest. So this was back in 2013, 2014 that he did this. So that pre-selling was the first way that we did it. There was nothing ready. So it was just, if you're interested in this, this is what will be built in a few months' time. This is how much it costs now. And this may cost more later. But, and we have those founding members still to this day. And from there, it's, the user feedback, just see how they're using it. You're really intimate with those first users. We were doing all the support queries. It wasn't like we had support agents back then. So we're really hearing all the pain points, the frustrations, the things they like, the things they don't like, and so you're just constantly iterating. And then back then it's a little bit rogue and a bit rough, and right now I've actually just done a whole batch of user interviews. I've kind of dug a little bit more into how to do those properly and how to conduct proper user research and what to do with the interviews once you have them. But I feel that it's just really, you can just you have to do a very, very MVP version, so that you don't waste any money, precious money, and then you just iterate from there.
And if you were to do that again now, let's say you were going to do another SaaS company, would you still potentially go, hey, we're going to handle all the customer support to start off with, just to see where all those pain points are? Or would you immediately go, right, we're going to put in a customer service team, but create some kind of way of getting that feedback back to us?
That's a good question. I probably would have less time now than I probably did back then, but I'm just really passionate about the customer side. I really do enjoy, and I do get a kick out of, going into our support and reading what people are saying. Like it's not like I don't have anything else to do, but I just feel like it's so important. So right now, I probably would not do it just on my own, but I would be very, very close to whoever the first, say, we'd probably transition someone on our team to, hey, okay, this is, something that we're working on. You take the support, train them up, and just be very close to that person until, they're ramped up. But yeah, definitely those early days where you're hearing the feedback, you're hearing that early feedback, it's super valuable.
Yeah. And that's really important for our listeners as well, to just know, like, your customers build your products for you if you listen to them, rather than just going, well, I'm going to do this anyway, and then why is it not selling? It's like, because no one wants it. So that's really important to know. And another thing, so I run businesses with my spouse, right? So, and one of the businesses we ran together as essentially partners was something that I nearly went bankrupt doing, right? So it wasn't it wasn't the best experience, and that way put a lot of strain on the relationship. However, you and Omar, Omar seems like a pretty cool laid back kind of guy anyway. But what's it like working and building a business with your spouse?
I feel like we're really lucky. I'm not going to say that it's every day it's like sunshine and rainbows, and the stress and the strain is there because it's a business. But I do feel really lucky that we've made it work. I think, we kind of came together a little bit later in life, and we were colleagues before. So we had we started working together pretty early on. And I think that kind of built the foundation. And yes, we wear different hats, and I've even, worn different hats and evolved kind of in these years as an entrepreneur. So, understanding his working style and him understanding my working style, that, you get to know each other obviously better over the years, and how to work together better. But I don't know. I feel really lucky that we can do this together. So, there are days and luckily we can balance each other out. Like if I'm having a bad day and he's all right. And so he can go, "No, it's okay." And he'll lift me up and vice versa. It's rare that we'll both be like having, a stressful day, but, I don't know. I feel super grateful. And so I guess I enjoy it.
And you
I don't know if
mentioned,
that really helps, because I don't think there's one. Every time, I get this question, it's always like, I don't know if there's one way. It's like there's this formula, like, oh, we shared an office for 8 years,
right.
and recently we moved, and now we're in separate offices, and nothing's different.
Yeah.
So if that kind of explains it, like it's just, yeah, we just make it work.
We actually used to use something. We came up with a phrase called wet socks. So basically, because you find it hard to separate between the relationship part and then the business part. So sometimes, and I probably wasn't the best leader that I was that I'm becoming now. But back then it would be like, if you said wet socks, it meant you'd really annoy the other person, because wet socks. If you put wet socks on, they're really uncomfortable. So it's like you just say wet socks and go, sorry, what did I do? So you didn't have that awkward conversation of like, oh, you really annoy me. What do you mean I've not annoyed you? So we found that as a great diffuser. But I wanted to dive in a little bit more to, you said you evolved into the role that you've become and where you are now. Now, a lot of the time, obviously, if your partners and you're like, we're going into business, you can't do the same role. So Omar being a CEO, you being a COO. Was that a natural fit? Or is that something that you kind of like, okay, well, someone's going to fill this role, whether that be the CEO or the COO?
I think, Omar had a lot more experience in business, when I started, when I joined him, and I was, I'd been doing my freelancing. So I think it was natural that I learned a lot in the early days, from him and just observing and learning, and as we built our business. I think you just picked up, at the beginning I was doing whatever, I had to do. So, early days of the podcast, it was just the two of us. So I taught myself how to edit audio. And so I was editing audio until we got our podcast editor, Carl. So I think I would just do things that either in the beginning what I liked, like, so I had the film school skill set, so I did the videos, but he was on camera because he had the content. So we kind of did things that were like, okay, this is what I know how to do. I can do this because I know how to do this right now, or I can at least teach myself how to do this because audio editing is similar to video editing. So I built upon skills that I already had and I knew how to do. And then I just found things that were kind of in terms of my personality. So attention to detail is something that I don't know. I'm just one of those people that will, in a split second, will find a typo. So it's kind of like all those details lend themselves to, checking boxes, making sure things are done. So operations kind of, feels natural to me to kind of make sure, okay, is everything in place? Is everyone doing what they're supposed to do? So there is an element of what's natural, like, and then what I enjoyed and what I knew how to do, I suppose. That helps.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like you say, it's always better to build on your strengths than try and improve your weaknesses. I'm curious, have you ever gone through any of those kind of tests, those strengths tests, like Strengths Finder or Myers-Briggs or any of those kind of things to see what
Yes,
they
and
are?
I can never remember the results. I think I love doing those things, and then I forget what the result is. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe it's like because I think we know what we're comfortable doing. We know what feels right and what comes more naturally to us, I suppose. It is nice when things are pointed out and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that about myself. But yeah, I don't know if it would actually change what I do.
Okay.
Taking one of those tests. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I found on mine that my top strength was futuristic. So it kind of matches a little bit the whole COO thing, right? So because you're always like, well, what could go wrong? So you find that out. But when it comes to typos, I am terrible. Like,
okay.
You think I'm writing a foreign language. So like I send it out to other people on our team to go check this and put it through Grammarly. So yeah, no way your limits are. Well, what also I wanted to talk about as well is, you started back in 2014 with this business. What stops you getting to 7 figures quicker?
What stops you?
What, like in your business? So you,
Mhm.
you obviously took a level of time to get to 7 figures. What stopped you in your business from getting there even faster?
Getting there faster. We intentionally wanted to retain control. So we've been self-funded from day one. So that's probably something that can, slow growth or kind of, put you on a bit more of a slow, steady growth path versus, just scrambling and just starting to do rounds of funding and just dumping a whole bunch of money into the business. I'd say, yeah, that's one thing.
And then also, so were you like running paid ads, or so how were you acquiring those first customers to get to that 7-figure mark?
So yeah, I suppose I almost started running ads pretty early on, but it was more of a content game and a lot from the show as well, the podcast, the $100 MBA show. So just telling, a lot of people would naturally find out about Webinar Ninja through the show, not because he's plugging it and he's advertising it necessarily, but because he's sharing stories about us building Webinar Ninja and imparting those kind of lessons. So there's a lot of organic marketing that comes from the show as well.
And yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes people don't see the hidden benefits of having a podcast is you can share all those stories and interweave them inside without having that full on promotion. Hey, today you need to go and buy
Yeah,
WebinarNinja. That makes a lot of sense. So one question we ask everyone on the show, Nicole, is what do you want to be remembered for when you die?
Oh,
good question.
This is a big question. I know that people write letters to themselves, right? To their older self. That's one of the activities. I haven't done that yet, but I've always wanted to do that activity. I think I would just want to be remembered being someone who, I mean, it just sounds so cliche to be that person who's helped other people. But, I enjoy listening to people. I enjoy building a business because I really do feel that's just one way that we are able to help. And it sounds a little bit, the fact that you can employ a team, the fact that you can provide for a job and a salary to a team member is a way of helping. And I feel like I would never have had that opportunity had I not left teaching and built this business with Omar and grown our team and and continue to grow the team, to continue to bring on new people and provide them a great opportunity, a great place to work. I think through our products, I feel we're naturally gravitating to being a source of helping people, whether it's giving them advice to go off on their own and to build something for themselves, or to give them a tool to continuously generate revenue and make a living. So yeah, I guess it sounds cheesy in a way.
I don't think it is cheesy. Like everyone's got these different legacies, and we have a lot of different answers to this question. Some people are just like, I want to affect millions of people. Some people are like, as long as my family's happy, I'm happy. It's interesting that you focused around the team, and something that I've noticed as well, and I think you don't notice this until you start hiring a team, is how much responsibility you feel. They feel like your kids almost. It's just kind of like, I just want to make sure they're looked after at all times.
So true. And we never use the word like a family business, because I know that can kind of have this connotation of like, oh, you'll do anything for your family, so you expect your employees and your teammates to do the same thing. And it's not that. We don't expect them, because I respect that they have lives, that they have boundaries, and everyone has limits, and they should, they have to have a life. But I do care about them, like genuinely care about them. So yeah, I guess.
And you realize sometimes as well that the people that they spend more time with you than anyone else. Like our head of tech, he says, I see you more than anyone else in the world, because his family live like 15 hours away. So, so you don't realize what impact. You have it all.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're back.
Let's
the impact. Yeah, sorry. It's okay.
So yeah, having someone who we work with that his family lives 15 hours away, you know, that I'm the person that he sees more than anyone else in the world, and that's like hits you with a heavy heart to know how much impact you have in someone's life. So I think your why and your what you want to be remembered for is super, super powerful and shouldn't be underestimated at all.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
So before we go today as well, Nicole, what is one quick win that people can use to amplify their business?
Talking to their customers.
Yeah.
Talking to their customers and doing it as early on as possible. I know that there are people that I think I was really nervous in the beginning to actually, you know, say, hey, can I jump on a call? Can I talk to you about, you know, our product? Can I talk to you about what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve? The sooner you can just really talk to your customer and listen and really just listen to them and just hear them out. And it's interesting because you'll say, I'll just, you know, 15 minutes, that's all I need of your time. And they're prepared to talk to you for 45 minutes. And you just go with it, and it's awesome. So just being open to really talking to your customers really early on and really listening to them, I think is one of those kind of game changing tactics. I don't want to say tactics, but I think it's been super helpful for us anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a few benefits to that as well. So number one, it builds more community with your users because they actually put a face to a name. And then secondly, you can improve your product so much faster than anyone else in the marketplace, and they just can't keep up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly.
And you can just talk to one person. Like that's the quick win there. You can just literally just talk to one person, and that's really all you need to get that first, you know, momentum and just pick up speed from there.
Fantastic, Nicole. So finally, what 7-figure entrepreneur would you nominate to be on the show next, and where can people find out more about you and WebinarNinja?
Oh, there's so many good people out there. Do you know Noah Kagan?
I will do if you introduce us.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, putting out a lot of great content, built a lot of amazing businesses. So I'd nominate Noah.
Kagan, cool. Fantastic. And then where can people find out more about you, Nicole?
So they can visit webinarninja.com. The $100 MBA Show is a free resource. It's a podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can hear, you know, more about building a business and all that good stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. I definitely recommend listening to the podcast as well. I was listening to it this morning. Some really good, valuable insights as well in really nice bite-sized chunks as well. So you can just get that like more morning knowledge every morning, which is fantastic. So Nicole, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Really appreciate you. And you have been listening to the Amplify to 7 Figures podcast with me, Paul Ace, and my amazing guest, Nicole Baldinu. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you again soon. Remember, amplify your business and amplify your life. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Amplify to 7 Figures podcast. To access the show notes, episodes, and this month's giveaway, head over to www.amplifyto7figures.com. Remember, amplify your business, amplify your life.